Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're so happy to have you, and we have a very interesting presentation lined up. I'm joined today by Tom. I just have a few little tips and tricks about how to enjoy the webinar. So we're going to be using a mix of QR codes and these on-screen CTAs that you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen right now. And also, this webinar is being recorded, and everyone who has signed up will get an email with a link to the recording. Any links that we've shared during the webinar will be delivered to you. Feel free to ask any questions you have in the Q&A, which is located on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll either answer them as they come in, or we'll also have a dedicated time at the end of the webinar to answer your questions. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tom from North Star. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for jumping on. As Harmony mentioned, I am Tom Melhorn. I'm the CEO of North Star School Supply. I want to tell you quickly the real reason why I'm giving this session. I am a dad of kids this exact same age, so I've personally toured hundreds of schools and centers across the country as a parent, standing in the doorway, not just as a vendor. And our team at North Star isn't sitting behind the desk theorizing about this either. So they're all kind of in that same predicament. So, our staff are out there shopping for and using ECE programs daily, walking real classrooms with real directors all the time. So everything today comes from what we're actually seeing out there in the real world, not just a slide deck that has been sitting, on the back burner for some time and maybe once forgot about. So for the next 45 minutes, we're going to look at your program and the way that prospective families look at it, maybe the way that they perceive things. If you're like most directors, not the way you've been looking at it maybe previously. So we want to kind of focus on your center from a different lens. So hoping you can get out a notepad or open maybe your notes in your phone, because you're going to hopefully want to write down a couple things. We do want to make this interactive and bring some fun in life, since I don't get to see any of you. So hopefully you can be interactive through chat, and looking forward to spending time with you this afternoon. So here's my one promise for today. By the time we're done, you should have identified 2 things that you can change tomorrow. We're not reinventing anything. This is not a budget request. Just 2 things, right? One thing families see with their eyes, right? And one thing families feel and hear throughout your center. So keep that in the back of in your mind the whole time while I'm presenting, and we'll come back to this at the end. So a quick gut check. And maybe this is something that you can type in the chat for me. So type in 1, 2, or 3. So how long has it been since you've walked through your own building like a stranger would? Is it something that you've done this month? Is it something that you do maybe yearly? Or let's be honest, you're unsure the last time you've perhaps walked through your own hallways and taken a look at it from a different perspective. Love the feedback. Thank you. Well, perfect. These are, some of the numbers that we're looking for, and this session is exactly for you, and hoping that we can all, get some feedback and find some value in this. So the real problem, right? Your building all too well. It's something that you're in quite often, the majority of your life. But let's think about the shelf that you step over, right? You don't really see it anymore. It just becomes routine stepping over or stepping around. Or let's think of the pile that's always been there. It's awkward traffic pattern. So you've adapted your body, and everyone, the staff maybe has adapted the thought of just not noticing it. So in theory, you really just stop seeing it. So a prospective family, this is something that they're going to see within the first 90 seconds of, a tour. And while you're giving, your tour speech, families are silently just viewing and scoring rooms or the overall center on four things, right? Is it organized? Is it cared for? Is it intentional? And is it welcoming? So these are not listening, they're not really listening to your words. They're really just reading, the room. And what we boil it down to is that every family on your tour is really asking those questions. Now, I put together a poll. Let me see if I can play with it. I don't know if Harmony, you can help me out. But, which of these four questions, are hardest for your program to, prove visually, right? So when we're doing a tour, these four questions are being, someone's asking themselves, does this feel safe and cared for? Can I picture my child here? Do the adults seem intentional? And does the space actually support what you say and value? Great. I think that this poll is wonderful because it seems kind of a mixed bag between the latter two, right? Is this an intentional space, and does this support the value that you're speaking to? Great. So I think that those are both two challenges that hopefully we can continue to convey throughout this presentation. Here's a photo that we've shot behind a parent's shoulder, right? So you're standing at the threshold of a welcoming early childhood classroom, looking in. The parents slightly, you think of it, you're kind of out of focus because you're in the foreground, but the classroom, beyond you is in focus. Think about the things that you're looking for. Is this organized? There's things that kind of come to mind. Is it organized, warm? It's there's a lot of natural light. You can see that there's small chairs. So this is a toddler classroom, I believe. Are there defined activity areas, and are they visible? So really, we want to frame how you should feel, that someone should feel in that exact moment while they're, they're just silently sizing up the space and picturing their child in it. So really, you think about it, there's really no need for text, logos, or no other people in the classroom at the moment. It's really just, how can I picture my child in this space? Now, when I look at it, here's what I maybe visually see on ways that we can maybe create a better atmosphere. It's, my thought is there's not a lot of traffic flow to the room, right? As I see it, the lockers, the hanging lockers are kind of on the far side of the wall, right? So that would kind of create a poor traffic flow. With you can see the circle of the storage unit in the middle of the room. Well, that kind of creates some blind spots. So you don't really see maybe what's on the other side. You might, see perhaps what's actually on the other side. What are the students or the children learning? So none of this, in my mind, is something that comes to mind as a budget problem. These are simple problems that we can fix by just kind of rearranging, and that's really the whole point of today. So, what we would do as North Star, and even, again, maybe if I were to do a tour, is maybe suggest a few different things. This is the same room, a couple of small changes. So look at what's shifted. Nothing was purchased here or added. So you need to ask yourself, what's changed? What does the room communicate now that it didn't before? So here's the second exercise, right? So flip your seat. So you're not the director anymore. You're the parent standing in the doorway for the first time. Here's the before and after. Which one gets you the enrollment and why? Great observation. Yes, by having the cubbies near the front door, right? It helps a parent out that much more. By shifting those tables, in a different manner, it creates more flow through the room, right? So you're not going around the sink or the toilet, the restroom to hang up your child's book bag or their belongings. Now, let's think about our tours, right? So that's just maybe just an example of one room and how we can, make simple changes to convey, again, maybe a more opening, a more friendlier environment. But let's take it a step further. Let's go through our entire tour, right? So stop by stop, let's look at the parking lot, the entry, the hallway. I want you guys to kind of think of this in the back of your minds. And in a couple of slides, I know I'll ask you to maybe visualize what are some of the things that you can enhance in your center today. But we'll go through the entire center. At every single stop, I want you to, again, ask these 3 questions. What do you see? What do you feel? And what is the story that you want to tell? So let's go stop by stop. I think this is just a simple switch, and we're in Minnesota, so we see a lot of this is, the entryway, and from the parking lot to that front door, being able to just make simple changes on that sidewalk. So if it is cracked or uneven, just being able to put a few dollars or setting aside some budget to either clean it or make it even. So that's, again, as a prospective family, this is something that I would visualize right away and kind of keep in the back of my mind. So now that you're in the front door, is this welcome obvious, right? Let's think about this. Does it feel current? Does it feel cared for? You need to think, is it run down? Is it outdated? Can a brand new family, tell where they're going without asking anything? And you think about the hallway. Okay, so the hallway would be the next step. What feels intentional? We're going back to those questions. What feels intentional? What feels temporary? What's been there for months? And, again, this is something that we see time and time again. We all have that bulletin board, right? That one bulletin board that kind of is the collection of everything. But is there a sign that is clear enough throughout the hallways that any stranger could navigate without a staff member walking them through? So let's think about that bulletin board, but how about maybe in the chat? We all know what I'm describing in that bulletin board. Is there anything else that comes to mind that has been there for months and kind of is that catch-all type of bulletin board? That I'm describing? Now let's stand in a classroom, right? And ask, are there clear learning areas, right? Or does this read as a undifferentiated classroom? Are there materials at the kids' level that can, that they can actually reach, or, I see oftentimes that things are set up on a shelf out of reach, but it's simply for aesthetics. Are there logical? Is there a logical traffic flow, like we, walked through earlier in the example? Is there a place for both active and quiet experiences? Right. We think about all these different um, spaces for children to calm down. Right. A family should be able to really answer all four of these questions, by standing still and just looking almost in the doorway itself. A family should not need your tour script to really understand the space and how it was designed for children. So if the purpose isn't visible without narration, it's a signal and it's not a coincidence. I know I'm kind of flying through my presentation, but let's do a quick pulse check, before we maybe take things outside of the walls of your center. What are two things maybe in the chat right now? First, what is one thing one spot in your building that you're already kind of picturing? Can you name it? Is it the hallway? Is it the classroom? Is it the front desk? What comes to mind? And then second, let's react perhaps with a emoji, like a thumbs up. If you're realizing that this is less about money and more about maybe 20 minutes with fresh eyes. Great, Tammy. Looks like you can enhance the entryway to make it more inviting. Great. I like the thumbs up because, again, I think that, one, our budgets are spread thin from the start, but being able to identify, ways that we can just reconstruct things and get creative on being able to provide a different experience, especially to, those families that are touring, by not, going right to budget and just making some small tweaks and changes. I think that is something that we need to keep in mind and, build toward. So thank you for that feedback in the chat. So the tour, again, doesn't really stop at that classroom as it didn't at the start in the parking lot. When families see your playground or outside space, does it look cared for? What actually supports play versus just occupied space? What would a family ask when they see it, right? If you're a program with a playground that can be seen from a road or a busy intersection, that's a 24/7 advertising opportunity, right? And it's also an opportunity to both build and lose trust. One thing that I constantly see as, we're traveling across the country and seeing playgrounds is being able to just take the time to go out and clean your playground scrub quarterly or power wash. I think that is something that should be done, quarterly, because I think that just shows that you, again, care for the space and you want the little ones out there in a clean, safe environment. But aesthetically, it does pop and it does show that you care about the environment. Last stop. So sometimes I feel like this is, as a prospective, family, I think this is one of those most overlooked maybe steps in the process. So how does your tour end? Does someone walk them out, or do they find their own way out to the, back to the parking lot to their car? Is it clear what happens next? Is there a clear defining moment of that? In that next step, is there a handout? Is it a warm goodbye? Or does the tour just sort of kind of trail off? And people, if we think about it as humans, we remember the beginning and the end of every experience much more than the middle. So in my mind, this is your time to shine, and really, you can't let your strongest close be an accident. So here's kind of how I want to challenge you, right? So a mindset shift from the furniture isn't the story. The box on the left, right? Here is your reading area, is the real estate. Now the box to the right is more or less, instead of going through, we don't want to create real estate. So what we want to do is we want to create that story, right? So we created this quiet space because ... I think that this is a quick maybe shift in language that you as a director or owner can share with your staff. And it allows you to walk through the entire center with an environment that allows children and teachers to do and tell that story and feel that story at the end of the day. So instead of naming the space, right, really what we want to do is connect it to that child's experience, connect it to the family's priorities. We don't say what it is, or or why it exists, right? We say why it exists. Sorry, I'm getting my words fumbled in here. So maybe in the chat, let's. How would you explain this space in the picture to prospective parents? Again, let's tell the story. Let's not say what it is. It's not an area for building blocks. I want to challenge you to go a bit further and share why this activity exists by connecting it to the child's experience and the family's priorities. Chat. All right, moving on. So here's the real value, right? Is you don't need to redo the whole classroom, right? Hopefully that's something that we've conveyed or I've conveyed throughout this presentation. We need to move. You can move, you can remove, you can organize, you can define. So I want to reiterate that. Start with that highest impact change, right? Not the biggest shopping list. So before you spend that dollar, you can ask yourself, can we move what we already have? Can we, what's sitting in storage? Can we remove what's creating noise, right? Can we better utilize maybe storage to make purpose or define spaces clear? And then, is there that one missing piece that would change the whole entire room? Maybe in the chat, maybe this is something that you can share with us in chat. Which one of these four could you actually do this week? All right, last 30 seconds. Her last exercise, maybe this should take 30 seconds. So let's not type about it yet. I kind of poked at that we would do this, but let's close our eyes and in your mind, let's visualize your most toured classroom. right? Or maybe even the classroom that you're most proud of. What does it have that others don't? Right? What does it have that others don't? And maybe, if we take it a step further, while we have those eyes closed, maybe ask yourself these questions. What's the first thing that a family would see in those rooms? Where do their eyes go after, go next? Um, what looks cluttered? What may look confusing? What looks intentional? Again, we're reiterating these questions. Can you tell us what value is in these rooms, and what makes you proud of it, without even having to explain it? So hopefully you're able to kind of visualize. Again, it's not going to a shopping list. It's just how do we expand off of the good things that we've created throughout our centers today. Back to that promise. Okay, so from the start of the session, I've flown through it. I'm a rambler, so bear with me. I appreciate all your feedback throughout the chat. Let's name two things. One thing that a family will now see differently, and one thing maybe that a family will feel differently by tomorrow. If you were to implement two things of change, doesn't need to be big. Think about some of those rooms. What would you change? What is one or two things that you would change or do differently? Thank you, Ryan. Less clutter. That's one thing that I see in a lot of centers is clutter and just storage units that are as full as can be. Or those corners of the room that seem to be the fall zone to place as much things and stack as possible. All right. Well, appreciate again all the feedback and the time. That's really the end of this session. So thank you all for attending. And taking the time to look really at your own building like a stranger would. If you want a second set of eyes on this, that's literally what we can help provide at North Star. We do offer assessments to walk through with our team. There's no obligation involved. It's just a fresh perspective and building relationships. There's anything else that we can catch. We want to be a resource for you. So again, thank you all for your time, and here's maybe our website. I know that Harmony, I'm going to hand it over to her, and she'll share some information about Playground. But please, we are a resource for you, and don't hesitate to give us a shout. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. I just want to briefly hop in and talk a little bit about Playground. For anyone that doesn't know, we are a child care management software, and a lot of what Tom mentioned today about having that time to really look at your center, see ways to optimize the experience that people feel when they're going into it for the first time. Having a software that is going to streamline all of the work that you have to do will give you the time back to be able to focus on those things that really do matter and make a difference. So, if you are interested in learning more about Playground, I'm going to put a button up on the screen where you can speak to someone from our team and see what it would look like in your center. But I would also love to open the door for any questions that people have of what Tom discussed today. We will have a live Q&A, so feel free to put any of your questions in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will answer them live. And I'll also be emailing everyone with a link where you can check out more about North Star and access this recording if you want to rewatch anything that was discussed. But yes, feel free to ask any questions. We'll leave it open for about a minute or two, and then if there are no questions, we will end it. But I hope that you all learned something new and something, like Tom said, that you can do tomorrow, or at least plan to do for the future. So,
Yes, and with the new year starting, these are a few small tweaks, and that hopefully you can take advantage. Small changes that can only enhance the family's experience as they enter your door for the first time, and even the existing families. We can't forget about them.
all right, everyone. Well, I think we are going to close it out here. Thank you all so much for coming, and hope to see you again at our future webinars. And you can expect an email from us with all the details about everything you learned today. So, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.